What's up, Willowbrook? Today we're in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3. And today in chapter 3, Paul addresses a problem. And the problem is that because the Thessalonians had this belief that the Lord's day had already come, some decided to quit their jobs and they stopped working. And then they started mooching off of their neighbor. And then they got a bit too involved in the lives of others. And Paul talks about that today in verse 11. He says, "We hear that some among you are idle and disruptive. They are not busy, they are busybodies." See, some of these Christians had so much time because they were living idle lives that they were meddling in the affairs of others. And Paul wanted to put a stop to it. And the reason why I think this is so important to Paul is because he probably understood that the time we have is a gift from God, and we should use that time wisely. If you look over into Ephesians 5, verses 15 through 16, it says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity." And the King James translation of that says, "redeeming the time." So think of it as buying the time back to use it for its intended purpose. When you think about time in the grand scheme of things, the time we have is very little. And we have very little time to live idle lives. We have very little time to live lives that consist of scrolling aimlessly through Facebook or social media, even though if we're honest, a lot of us could probably say we've done that. And if you look at the other side of that, we have very little time to jam-pack our schedule full of good things, so many good things that we have to say no to the great things. You know, as you watch this video, I want you to know that if you're still living, God has work for you to do. And that's going to look different for all of us. But I just want you to know that even though we have work, we have very little time to get that work done. So let's not live idle lives. Let's not be like those in Thessalonica, but rather let's be a church of believers that redeems the time that we have and honors God with our lives. I leave you with this: as we are doing what's right, as we're doing what's good, the words of Paul in today's chapter, verse 13, he says, "And as for you, brothers and sisters, never tire of doing what is good." God bless you.